Hi, Brigitte.
Hello, Sanvis.
This time we will speak about your piece, Melancholia. Can you just give a short intro to the piece, full commissioned and
Yeah, Melancholia is a piece for 14 instruments, especially it was written for Ensemble Modern. And it was a commission by the Bregenzer Festspiele in cooperation with Ensemble Modern. And in this piece, it works a lot with digital enhancement. So I also had some guests, like the Iranian African Ney-Anban player Saeid Shanbehzadeh, and three Norns, which we were casting beforehand. And the piece is actually it's a music theater about Melancholy, Melancholia 1. It's an image of Albrecht Dürer. And in this image, yeah, you see a kind of melancholic person that is looking into the space, let's say, or into the environment. And you see a lot of objects around this person which are connected to melancholy. So, for example, what was for us very important, it's a polyeder. It's a very big stone that is somehow in our sight. So that is making often things invisible, or it could also be the elephant in the room. And I was working on this piece together with Moritz Lobeck. He's a dramaturg, and we were making the conception together, and we decided to make about 7 tableaux, or 7 images, which deal with the topic of melancholia, because this is a term and this was interpreted in various and very often very contradictory ways. So it has been regarded as a physical illness or as a moment of contemplation, but also as the possibility of overcoming earthly suffering somehow, or as a sister of ingenuity. So it's very often, it's like a transforming term or word. Nowadays, it's often used for depression, actually, melancholia. So it's a little bit, it's like a little bit a journey, going into into the different images of what melancholia can be.
and why this topic? How you came to this topic, particularly for this?
Actually, we wanted to make a piece about grief. So grief was the first thing we were dealing with, and we wrote also an article which was published in the Musiktext about music and grief and music and the function of music. And then while we were researching, we came to this topic of melancholia. So especially when we were looking about how we perceive the death, let's say in the digital world, for example, where people start to build digital graves or trying to avoid somehow that people are going, so trying to keep them somehow there. And and somehow in this kind of research we came to melancholia, and then we thought the fact that this term is changing so much or it's interpreted so differently, that is really nice to work with.
And how you came to the title?
It's
Why this title?
Melancholia 1 is really the title of the image of Dürer. So it's really the this kind of picture we were dealing with. And there is a Melancholia 1 and there's also Melancholia 2, but we started with the Melancholia 1, and from the beginning on we were working with Veronika Simmering, who is a visual artist, and she was doing like an interpretation of the image. And it was really clear in the beginning that it will be a very technological piece, let's say. So with 3 screens, with visual worlds in which the musicians are put in. Because I always feel a kind of a melancholy, I must say, melancholia, when I see a very technological or technocratic settings in which people are acting. So this is for me always a very melancholic image from the beginning on. And we worked with green screens. So to say that this illusion and the making of is somehow in one stage. so that we have a stage in which both things are visible for the audience. And yeah, I can also show a little bit of
Yes,
this
would be very
of
nice.
the setting, just to see how it how we work there. So this is, for example, this is already the last scene we see here. But we had these 3 screens. Here is a green screen and there is a green screen. It's also a choir involved, which were 6 singers who are living in Bregenz. This was for me also a nice experience because my mother is coming from Bregenz and she was singing at the Bregenz Festival in 1969, Die verkaufte Braut, as a kind of a guest. So it was very nice to be back there in this choir. Yeah, I was scouted there to take part. Yeah, and here we see these 3 screens, and we have a kind of 3 playing areas, let's say, where the musicians are sitting. So the musicians are always musicians. They are not actors. They are not another group. They are the musicians which have costumes from Sita Messa, who also made the stage design. And they look like a group or like a community which is quite artificial, a little bit related to the 90s looks with the hair and this kind of dressing. But yeah, and they are spread over this surface. And there were 2 musicians, the flutist and the double bass player, from who I cloned the voices. So there is one piece, it's called Daisy Daisy, which I wrote 2 years before, like in the Corona time. It's like a teaser for the Christmas CD of Ensemble Modern. And in this piece, the flutist was shouting a lot, shouting and playing. And I cloned his voice with the AI software, let's say, and made a kind of a clone of a screaming voice of the flutist and the voice of the double bass player. And these voices were part of the whole piece. There were like narrators. Sometimes they're giving comments to the scenes. I also had a kind of artificial choir which was singing with the real choir. So there was on all areas a kind of a parallel being or living of the analog world and the digital world. And we have a frontal stage, as you see, but around the audience is a kind of 3D sound system with 60 loudspeakers. And so that they are somehow in a kind of a sound, in a soundscape setting. So it's trying to mix a little bit these things. I can also share a little bit, I have to share my sound. This. If you like, I can just guide a little bit through.
Yes, it will be very nice. Yes.
Okay, so in the beginning, we started really with an application, with an app that you see here.
Yes.
It's our kind of an overture or prologue. So these images from the Dürer build image, the object from the Dürer images, it's a dog actually, which is sitting on the ground. Perhaps I can shortly show this image to make it a little bit more clear what it is. So what Veronica did is that she took these some of these objects. Mm-hmm. This is the melancholic person, let's say. Here's the dog, here's the polyeder, here's the kind of apocalypse in the background. Here's a kind of a mathematics, a kind of a number game. And I don't know how it's called. It's a Putte in Germany, so it's these little flying angels, let's say. And Veronica took these objects and persons, and she made a new version of it in her application. And it is an AR, an augmented reality app, where you scan a QR code, which you placed in the entrance area. And then you have these objects which are appearing in your real environment. And we have about 6 different sound files. So the people have the sound on, and the more people are scanning around and following these objects which appear, they hear different sounds which are connecting to a kind of a AR choir. And you hear this very cheap sound from your mobile, so when you're outside, and when you go in the entrance area, then you hear the music coming from this 3D soundscape, so a kind of a cineastic sound, which takes the sound from the mobile actually to the speakers. And the two musicians of Ensemble Modern, they were walking around with body cams and filming the audience while they were coming in. And the idea was actually somehow to let the audience participate in the project without doing something, but still let them be alone somehow. No, they have their own device. They can walk around. They can see themselves on the screen. So it's a very welcoming atmosphere, let's say. So really like to catch them and to bring them on place. So this was somehow the idea, to let them get in touch with each other. And this year was.
And I hate this world so much.
Tell me, when will I be famous? Where? Tell me. Where is my
Only
sword?
strict forms help against pain. And I hate this world so much.
When? Tell me. When will I be famous?
So what you see is, the audience is coming in, the people with the cameras, they are also filming our tech team, so they are winking the camera. So it's somehow just to form, let's say, one group. The ensemble is already on stage. And when the audience is in, then we switch into the first scene, which is called Anatomy of Melancholy. And it's actually a book by Robert Burton that he wrote in the 16th century. And it tries to analyze the anatomy, to find reasons for why people suffer from melancholy. It's very fragmented, so we started with a lot of quotations, and can perhaps jump in here.
So, nun mal rauf mit der Mutter auf den guten Kutter, ne? Und Oma und Opa auch noch mit. Jo. Und immer vorne raus, ne? So, tschüss.
Elbe, Eskierwip, Leuchttonne 6, Vortrabtief, brennt schwach und unregelmäßig.
Yeah, what you see here actually is that we use different, we take the green screens and we key the green of the green screens, and to put a video, let's say here these kind of roses, on the green screen of the green screen, let's say this. So somehow we try not to put only the musicians in this world, what you see, but also to use the green areas to project anything on it. So that in fact you don't know really how these images are generated. You can try find it out, but it's a little bit tricky because everything is somehow overlapping, you know, the kind of projection and what is projected and what is live and what is pre-recorded. And yeah, this is a quite aesthetic scene where the musicians are quotating. So what we just heard is a kind of a C1 messages. There are very weird C1 messages. They were in the 70s, 80s in the radio, you know? And they were very cryptic, and so that you don't know really, there are news about something you don't know what it is. So it's trying a little bit to localize where we are. And yeah, this is somehow this first scene, which then also starts with AI voices which are talking.
Vielen, wenn auch nicht allen Melancholischen, sieht man ihre Krankheit an. Der Blick verrät vielfach ängstliche Beunruhigung, gleichzeitig auch eine eigentümliche Ferne und Unberührtheit von allem, was um den Betroffenen herum vorgeht.
When I look into your eyes, I see the sky.
Es ist zu betonen, dass die melancholische Gestimmtheit nicht das Gleiche und nicht einmal etwas Ähnliches ist wie die Traurigkeit des Gesunden.
Am 26. Januar 2022 wurde meine Tochter geboren.
So this is all in German, but they are all quotations, you know, from quotations from this book of Robert Burton, but also very personal connections to melancholy. And here this is quite funny because I thought somehow this whole first scene is somehow like making this image performative of Dürer. So how can an image be performative? And there is one action, for example, from the percussionist, which is for me always the apocalypse, which is in the background of the image. So they always make this kind of a, I don't know if you see it.
Close your eyes.
Yeah,
Picture a vacuum. An endless and unmoving blackness. Peace. Or the absence, at least, of terror.
She felt skies and bricks and rain.
La 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 la.
Do you feel la la la?
La 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 la.
And actually these voices, so all are artificial voices, the voices that are speaking, and but they are bored, you know. They're thinking about, okay, what to do now, la 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 la. They're trying to sing. They are somehow. It was for me quite important that they are not appearing as something very technical, so that they're appearing as something that could be with us somehow. So, and then when I was talking about this screaming of the flutist, it's actually this year. So the second theme, it's about the translation, because there is a person, and it's a flutist, the flute player, who is screaming in a very loud sound, very emotional text. So let's say a typical song text, like when I look into your eyes, I see the sky, what we heard already, no? Or my love will never die, and things like that. But he's screaming this, and there's another person, it's the piano player, who's translating it somehow into German, but very without any emotion, let's say. So it's actually about the separation of the emotion and the content, and it's something that I do a lot in my works, actually, about this. What interests me, a kind of a separation, which is also important for the melancholy, or something that is happening, because in the melancholic mood, somehow there is a separation between the I, or the self, and the feelings, so, or the how to perceive the world. So there seems to be a big difference, as if you're watching yourself, so somehow, and this disconnection is here shown in a kind of a song, let's say. I will try to find the beginning. Perhaps somehow here.
I see forever when I look into your eyes.
Ich sehe Unendlichkeit, wenn ich in deine Augen schaue.
You are all I ever wanted.
Du bist alles, was ich jemals wollte.
I always want you to be mine.
Ich möchte, dass du immer zu mir gehörst.
We will always be together.
Wir werden immer zusammen sein.
And our love will never die.
Und unsere Liebe wird niemals sterben.
When I look into your eyes, I see the sky.
Wenn ich in deine Augen schaue, sehe ich den Himmel.
I love you so much,
Ich liebe dich so sehr.
and I hate this war so much.
Und ich hasse diesen Krieg so
It's
sehr.
a crazy world ending.
Was für eine verrückte Welt. Alles kann passieren. Ich möchte, dass du weißt, dass wir niemals getrennt sein werden.
Yeah, this is called Daisy Daisy. It's like the second image. Perhaps I show one more, because I'm not allowed to show the whole thing. I don't have the rights for the showing the whole. So the third piece it's called Planet 9, and this is a quite personal number also for the Ensemble Modern, because we should not forget that the Ensemble Modern has now its 40th anniversary. So a lot of members which are playing in these ensembles are now nearly before getting retired. So they are leaving the ensemble. And this is for me also a very melancholic moment, no, to think about this. And this is a piece, it's a kind of a cello solo for Michael, for the cello player. And it put also a little bit in scene how he goes to this position playing the cello. And there is the choir singing a song. It's actually a song which is coming from the area, from Vorarlberg. And it's a song that my parents were singing very often. And while I was composing Melancholia, my father was dying. And I really wanted to have this song there. and to put these two scenes next to each other, no? Like the one who's leaving and this song, which is quite of, somehow staying there, no? So I would shortly show a little bit of this. The choirs, I think they are all looking like Cindy Sherman. So if you, it was somehow an inspiration for the theater to form them. So this is somehow how he gets into the position. And I really wanted to make these kind of transitions that it's not artificial somehow, that they are not played, let's say, you know, to find moments that could be real, that could have been real, or that have a topic which is connected to the people that are performing there on stage somehow. Yeah, and then he's playing, and somehow I really like this this idea that in the background on the screens there are the three Norns. So these are like three goddesses from the Nordic mystery, and they have this kind of tissue. So the I can take a cable, but you know, there are these images where they have like these things in their hands. It's the destiny, Schicksal of the people. So they have the world under their control, the lives, the human beings. So, and the Norns that I casted here, they are three Norns that are eating these kind of things for themselves. So they don't care actually about the humans, and they leave them alone. And so he is here playing like hell, and they're in the background. And Yeah, I think nearly every piece, only one not has a kind of a song structure. Let's say thinking in kind of, I mean, very long intros or very long refrains, or that perhaps they're not ending or they are repeated a lot, and somehow kind of a deformed song. So which is always somehow in the background. Yeah, for example, here the choir goes into the green screens and they are joining the recorded Norns. In other scenes, we have this is perhaps we have the musicians by themselves that are going into the screens, like here in Uwe's solo, for example, is the pianist in the green screen and tells us a story about Zinedine Zidane, the soccer game in 2006, when this World Cup star, someone made this kind of action. I don't know how is this, the head hitting, head punch, yes, with which he ended his career. And there was a French philosopher who was sitting in the stadium and he was writing an essay about the melancholy of Zinedine Zidane, because this person decided in this moment to step out of the game, let's say, to step out and do something that is really disconnected to the settings. And actually, it's my favorite scene because I was working with soccer choirs that I played back. I will try to find this a bit. Oh yeah, and I wrote a kind of a Baroque duo with the soccer choir, which was a lot of fun, I would say. There you hear it. So it's a little bit what they are doing. It's a little bit similar to what the cello player was doing. So like working like hell, let's say, and playing the hell out of something, but it's too quick actually, to be music that you can enjoy somehow. It's really, and here there are these two different time shifting things. So the two violinists who are playing this duo, which had also, I think, a lot of a working character. And this background choir, it's You Never Walk Alone, this soccer stadium song, which is takes a lot of time, and you have a lot of people singing it, next to this duo.
Right.
And
what is the main message what you want to send to audience with that piece?
So actually, I didn't want to write. So the main message is somehow that melancholy is a space that can be very creative, and it's very important for us to take this space and to inhabit it. So it's this kind of connotation that we try in our society very often to erase these kind of spaces, which seem to be nothing, which seem to be not functioning, which seem to be a glitch somehow in our doing, so that actually they are very important to be creative, to receive a kind of an energy or a power to recover, to regenerate, to that these spaces can be very fruitful, let's say.
Yes.
And in the end, it's a piece which is totally overwhelming because there are so many things happening actually in this kind of gap, yes, in this moment where actually nothing seems to be happened and the separation is so present. So, and this was a kind of a try to make. No? And it was interesting because in Bregenz, the audience, I mean, they are a little bit older, let's say, they're about 60 years old. So it was interesting to do this piece there. And And I think you could really cut this audience in half. So one half was really into it and enjoying all what is happening and following, and there was another part that was quite overwhelmed, let's say, or that's fall out at one point. But this is perhaps also a generation question, I think. So how much different things we can perceive at a time, I think it changed, between the younger generation and the older ones.
Yes. Now, I noticed that in this piece you mix a lot, let's say, digital with physical work, right? Creating some, and what is this some kind of purposely? You want to say something regarding Melancholia in that way?
So I think that we are all living in this transit world, let's say. So it is our everyday life that we are in the digital world and in the analog world at the same time. So it's something that makes us a little bit transhuman, I think. And so it is already there, and I'm just interested in this moment when you go a little bit more in the digital world, a little bit too much, so then somehow you lose something, no? Something is going, or you lose yourself, which can be very good, no? You lose control, you can lose, I don't know, the connection, whatever. And at the same time, I also have the feeling when I stay too much in this analog world, so I also lose something that could happen over there. So there's it's not about giving a value to one or the other. No, it's more like thinking about trying to think what is happening. No? When we go very much into there or there.
And how long it took for you to compose?
About 1 year, I think. I mean, it's a bit hard to say because there was the pandemic and we took a lot of time for the conception. This was quite long to think through all these scenes and to think about how they can, how to bring everything together, no? Because this is for me always so important to, perhaps it's ridiculous, but I always need a reason why somebody is playing an instrument on stage. So it's, I cannot say, okay, I write something and then you play and this is okay. So I need this motivation, and has to be in the different, it has to be in the digital world, in the video, in the soundscape. So why I'm using the soundscape, what is the interaction, and to go all to build this kind of rhythmatic setting, this takes the most time.
And what kind of stages you go through, right? How you started then?
So we started with a lot of research, let's say. This is a phase I really love to get an overview about the topic Melancholy. So how is it connected to, what kind of doors can we open? Like, I was very glad when we found this Zinedine Zidane story also, because it's completely from another world, no? And then I'm trying to make a kind of translation into a musical situation. And there it's very different. Sometimes there's a sound which comes, or let's say a situation like with a cello player, no? That somebody is working very hard, but somehow the result is not really visible. So it's not about the result, it's about the working, it's about the ongoing, it's about infecting other people that are coming into this kind of tornado, you know? Yeah, these kind of situations. Or then I was thinking in this scene, how can I tell the audience something about these Norns, no? About the story, because they don't know. So, and then I found a YouTuber in his car who was telling a little bit about about this Nordic mystery, and then I implement this. So it's like an ongoing game, no?
Mm-hmm. And and how collaboration with the ensemble, how it shaped the piece?
Quite a lot, because actually I decided to give everyone a kind of a scene to everyone, no? Because I felt when I was talking to them, and we made some tryouts and we had shootings in advance, and I really need this connection to the people that are playing. Actually, they are very important for generating the ideas also. For example, when I was talking to Megumi, she's from Japan, the viola player, I asked her, because I was also living in Japan for half a year, and I asked her what is melancholy for her in her cultural context. So, and she talked about a karaoke song, and she showed it to me where a woman is going to the north, and when she stepped out, so she was leaving Tokyo actually, the big city, going into a small city, which is a translation for the fact that she didn't manage to make a career. And then she stepped out and into a winterscape, a winter environment, so a landscape. And she showed me the song, and then she was singing it in this tryout. So actually like karaoke singing. And it was so lovely. So we decided that she will get some regularly singing lessons from January till August. So when we performed, and that she's trying to learn this song, and I made an arrangement, and then I cut it into the song and somehow stretched it and composed the middle part. So these are things that are coming from the people, and she was then on stage performing the song as a singer, like in this moment of having an analogy also to this karaoke moment. And so also the solo for the trombone player, it's very personal actually. So they were quite involved quite a lot. And
you use a lot of technologies, right? So this was augmented realities and artificial intelligence, different visualizations. What was the main softwares you use in your piece, creating the piece?
Yeah, here. So what comes new now was a kind of this kind of voice cloning software, which was a company in the US which created this. So I had to feed it I had to generate this two voices I used, and then I was using a text-to-speech program actually, and then I was correcting sometimes. I tried, so how can they speak with a German with an English accent, for example, and it was a little bit try and error how you write words so that they are spoken in the right way. Then we were using, of course, PD. So because my technician is using PD a lot, I work together with Maximiliano Estudios, a programmer, and he helped me like synchronizing, I don't know, the electronics then with the light and all these things. So for the soundscape, I worked with Cubase, and I work in a I just had a paper of the loudspeakers, how they are arranged, so I can compose for this arrangement. And we use some live electronics, a little bit Max, so for the live effects. Actually, it's not such a. It's more how the things are connected to each other. Mm-hmm. So let's say in the way of meaning, which is quite complex, and then. Because the video team, they used then a live video software, so there are different things coming together, and so I was mainly controlling actually the soundscape, so making the soundscape mix, deciding so where the sounds are going or wandering or how they are coming, which I wrote also in the score beforehand, so that we can program this at the same time. Because we must say, I had, in the end, with all the musicians, I had about 5 days on stage. So that means that the score is really containing a lot of information about light switches, about when things have to be synchronized, when they are not synchronized. So there is a layer for light, for synchronization, for live specialization, for so that everyone could have worked in advance, mm-hmm. that we are prepared when we come there.
And how these softwares and technologies, how they shaped your piece? Right? Would it be like is the experimentation with these just open new ways for you, or
yes.
Or you feel that you were limited?
No, I always feel limited when I use click track, of course, because click track is so necessary. So to bring in this kind of setting, it's not working without a click track. But somehow I always try to find mechanism to make this click track also a little bit human, to change it, to define. I have a lot of parts where I erased it and then it comes back. So making on and off, which is always tricky, let's say. But I went into it, and I really like it that softwares are shaping the way I'm composing. So, for example, in Daisy Daisy, I used an AI generating this kind of rhythm. So the rhythm was generated by artificial intelligence. So I took the rhythm, then I instrumentated this again. So I really like to be driven a little bit like this. And also with this, with this voice software working with this also changed a little bit. So I had to think about timing very differently, you know. And no, it's a nice process. I think it's one of the things that always forced me a little bit to go beyond the borders that I'm working in. So working with different softwares.
How can you imagine the piece without a sound only?
Without sound?
As sound only.
Yes, yeah, I could. Actually, we are thinking about making a concert version. No, we have a video. We do it without the stage, let's say the whole stage thing, but with one video. And only sound, I think it's also working, actually. I think this is a piece where that could work without all the other things. They are just adding layers, no? They are building an environment, they are putting the music in a kind of context. But actually, I think this piece could work without.
Could the piece would work without sound?
No. No, I don't think so.
And can you imagine the piece without this artificial intelligence, these cloned voices and?
I can imagine it without the live choir. I can imagine it without the cloned voices. So, but one of them had to be there, I think. And I would. So if I had to decide, I would erase the live choir and not the artificial voices, because I think they are. So for me, it's very important to have them in and to know that they try to appear not as our slaves, no, as we are used to it when we go with the car or navigation systems, or we drive with the train, and all these voices are just there to please us, no, to guide us, to be our everyday slaves. And I really like this idea that they are there very independently, and that they are lost, and that they're so no, it's not working without.
And what was three main learnings that you learned for you, right, during the piece, during creating the piece?
What I learned, you mean, or what?
You as a composer, what you learned from this, from the process of creating the piece?
So one thing that was for me really new was two things. You know, was then that I also did the rehearsal direction and the direction. So because I was actually responsible then for the scene, but also for guiding through the rehearsals, like a conductor without conducting, because I had the click track, but going through. And the first day when I realized that I have to do this, I was a little bit shocked. I thought, okay, how to manage? But then I figured out that it was the best that I could ever have done. So that it's really nice to work on to have these things somehow, connected together. And it felt very, I don't know, very nice, this kind of process. And also to work with this app, it was also new for me in this setting. And there actually I would like to go on. So to work more with this. So actually now I'm doing a piece without performers. I think this is the consequence somehow of this piece also. Because as I said, I could erase the live choir. I could also erase the live musicians, but I could not erase the 3D soundscape, for example. But I could imagine that this piece can exist without anybody on stage. So. Mm-hmm. And and this was also the idea of the app, like using different devices. So somehow, how can I, this is what I'm doing right now. No, how can I make a kind of space opera, or let's say, this kind of setting, but really without live people on stage.
And the last question: what could be your main suggestions to those composers who just start creating such large-scale multimedia pieces?
No, I don't know, because I'm also still learning, so I can. I'm also still learning, but I think it's less is always good. So less is always good, but I'm not too good in this. So because I'm doing always too much, but I love this as an aesthetic also. I love this overwhelming thing where you can get lost and you can watch it several times and you will find different things to follow. And but actually, it's like exponential growing. So when I think about different things that are happening in the music with the stage together, and then I see it, there are so many things that come on top, And so yes, less is always good, or you make it as a program. What I did then, so going really into it. But I must say, what I really learned. I mean, we spent a lot of nights, me and Moritz together, to make this. Plans, how the musicians change between the scenes and how this can this happen. So because 5 days is nothing, 5 days is nothing if you have also to do sound check and all these things, connecting the 3D sound system with the musicians. And this was a quite big challenge to have this also on mind, to direct, to make rehearsals where you really say, okay, the microphone goes there, and then you take the microphone, you give it to XY, and then you take this. And it was a little bit like that we had to prepare a lot. Otherwise, it wouldn't have worked out. So these things where we normally don't like to think so much about, they are getting very, very important. If somebody doesn't have his or her microphone at the right place, everything is lost. So and this made me really alert also in this production, that these little things are the ones that can crash everything when it's so you can have a big system of connected technology with live sound and whatever, so but I don't know, when some little element is not working, then of the analog world, then it's getting tricky.
So thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.